Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar focused on empowering innovation, how BrokerTech Ventures is transforming the insurance industry. We have a jam-packed hour ahead of us, so I want to dive right in. If you have any questions as we're going through, please enter them into the chat box. We will be monitoring it throughout the presentation, and then any questions we can't get to, we will follow up with after the session in a later email. My name is Kristina Pinciotti. I am the Director of Innovation and Operation Support at the Graham Company. Our innovation team mission is to deliver a world-class customer-focused experience by embracing data-driven, customer-tailored technologies, while innovating the way Graham operates by improving our processes and service model. We are a founding member of BrokerTech Ventures. We'll call it BTV for short. And for anyone not familiar, BTV is a program for insurance agents and carriers working to build the next generation of technology solutions, but focusing on that broker and agency space. Graham's innovation team focuses most of our first quarter on the BTV Accelerator program, and I will not steal John Jackovin's thunder. He will get into more what that process looks like in a little bit. But what I will say is that it is very important for us to stay up to date as to what tech is coming out in our space, so we can make sure our clients are working with the best and they're aware of all that's out there that could help them grow, be more prepared, and become more efficient. BTV definitely helps us in keeping us up to date with the trends and insight into the insurtech space. So our agenda for today is as follows. I'm going to give quick introductions on who you're going to be hearing from throughout the call. I'll let each of them introduce themselves when it's their turn to present. Next, I will kick it off to John Jackovin, the Executive Director at BrokerTech Ventures Accelerator, to give us an overview of that accelerator tower of BTV. After John, we'll flip it over to 3 of the new members in this year's BTV cohort. You will be hearing from Chris Henricks from Boon Health. Boon focuses on mental well-being and professional development. You'll be hearing from Danny Wong from Goat Risk, a risk management tool that helps users collaborate, manage, track, and report on business risk from anywhere in the world. And last but certainly not least, we'll be hearing from Chad Hollingsworth from Insight Risk, which bundles proven IoT or Internet of Things technology, sound underwriting, and proactive risk management to reduce the frequency and severity of losses from water damage. Like I mentioned, we will have about 5 minutes at the end to answer any questions and to close out the session. So please remember, put any questions that you have in that chat box. And without further ado, I will flip it over to John Jackovin to give us an overview of the BTV Accelerator Tower. John, it is all yours.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Kristina. So I always find it helpful when we have these discussions to first give a little bit of an overview of what an accelerator is, because I realize there might be some on this webinar that might not know. So accelerators started back in call it the mid 2000s, where it was really a way for, think of it as an investment vehicle, where really early stage companies could get a small amount of money, some guidance and mentoring, and ultimately the hope is that in 5 to 10 years that investment turns out to be something. Our accelerator is kind of like that, but it's actually very much different than a traditional accelerator. We do find early stage companies, we do invest money, but we typically find companies like some of the ones that you're gonna hear from today that are a little bit later stage, which means that they have a product, they have some market penetration, they have some traction. And what our focus is, as Kristina mentioned, is actually taking these companies, these technologies, and allowing our partners to implement those technologies, all in hopes that we can drive down cost, identify risks sooner, be more proactive, more efficient, and really ultimately help the end customer in their daily lives. And so we focus mainly on that. And if someday one of these companies turns out to be a multi-billion-dollar company, well, then that's fantastic. But ultimately, what we're looking for mostly is to use the product or distribute the product. And as somebody who is a founder, a startup founder many times over, I can tell you that distribution is absolutely key when it comes to startups. And so while it certainly benefits our partners, the Grahams of the world, it also helps the startups because they're looking for distribution and traction. So it's this very symbiotic relationship that occurs with our BTV brokers, wholesalers, and carriers, but also with the startups themselves. Kristina did mention that about the first quarter of the year, and actually a little bit more than that, it's almost like one third of the year is spent with a lot of involvement in BTV. Our applications open in the fall. We go through a very, very intensive review process, which happens in January. In February, we go through a process of essentially whittling it down to our top 20. Those top 20 companies then go through a virtual large group question and answer where all the partners of BTV get on and have an opportunity to really vet these startups a little bit deeper. And then from there, you get the 12 companies that become part of our cohort. We then bring those companies along with the approximately 30 or so brokers, wholesalers, and carriers. We bring them all to Des Moines, Iowa, and we have an event called BTV Mania, which is just a very, very concentrated environment of meetings between startups and our partners. And at that point, our partners are trying to figure out which startups are going to help us in the goals that they have for a particular calendar year. And then the rest of the year is really an engagement focus from our partners' perspective. And obviously, this is really good, not only for the startups and for our partners, but ultimately the real net value filters down to the customer. So the ones that are making the purchases of insurance, anything that we can do on the front end to improve the process, to make sure that the coverage is correct, to make sure we're being more proactive, ultimately benefits that end customer. And so that's what's really cool to see, is not just, hey, we're implementing technology for technology's sake, but rather we're implementing technology with a desired outcome in mind, and that is ultimately to benefit the end customer. So I realize that's a very, very highly concentrated overview of who we are and what we do and why it's important to Graham, but ultimately, hopefully that sets the table for our startups, which you'll get to hear from in just a couple of minutes. So with that, Kristina, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, John, for the overview of the Accelerator program. You always make what can seem like a very daunting process of reviewing close to 100 company submissions a little bit more enjoyable. So thank you for that. And let's kick it off. So let's hear from, we're going to start with Chris Henricks from Boon Health. Chris, you can take it away.
Thanks, Kristina. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Henricks. I'm a co-founder and head of partnerships at Boon Health. I'm really happy to be here with you today. I'm actually based in New York today for a long weekend and a client retreat. So if there's any background noise, I apologize. I'm working out of a friend's office. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the evolution of what employees are looking for in the workplace. I'm going to share a quick overview of Boon Health, the ways that we impact our customers, and then talk through a customer journey that you could expect while working with Boon. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me at the end. I think the first and most important thing is we're really solving three key challenges for our customers. First is retention, and hiring is a critical priority for businesses around the country. Second, 62% of employees say they're coping with some form of stress, anxiety, and burnout. And then third, 74% of employees say they lack professional development resources in the workplace. And we think that's key is because two of these problems really factor into this intersection between mental well-being and professional development. And that's where Boon is supporting our customers today. And so when you think through how this evolves in your employees, right, we think about the whole human. So whether you're stressed and anxious, whether you're working on relationships, both inside of the office or out, work-life balance, becoming a better leader in the workplace, our whole goal is to provide a solution that can support your employees across an entire spectrum of needs based on what they're going through at that specific time. And so our goal is to create more resilient workforces so they can help to get back on the horse when things aren't going exactly as you'd imagine or when things aren't perfect. And so that's where Boon steps in. So we're a personalized coaching platform that partners with businesses to provide one-on-one support for your employees, whether it's overcoming daily challenges that you're facing, overcoming stressors, or even reaching your goals, both personally and professionally. Everything that we do is done virtually through Zoom. Our sessions are 30 minutes in length. Through our program, employees get up to 2 coaching sessions per month. It's 100% confidential, but we aggregate reporting at the company-wide level. And then it's an employer-sponsored plan. So it's a free resource for employees, given the outcomes that we've been able to prove through our program. We've built a coaching network from the ground up. We have about 200 coaches on our platform, and they're really coming from 3 main backgrounds. If you think about how I just described exactly what we're doing, right? So you think about someone that is going through grief, loss, or mental well-being need, we want to make sure that we have a coach that has a master's level therapy background, but they also have formal coach training. We also have ICF accredited coaches that support both personal and professional needs. And then lastly, we have executive coaches that have business operating experience. So you think about that entire spectrum of how we're initially starting to support employees, and it's amazing to see the overall impact that we've been able to provide based on widening the scope of how we're supporting your employees, both personally and professionally. In terms of the outcomes that we've been able to prove, on average, we're getting about 30% utilization when we launch with an entire company. And so if you think about historical systems that have been out there to support employees, that is a much higher utilization than what they've experienced through many different services that they've offered to their employees. So it's a highly utilized program that is also driving really high client satisfaction. So over 30,000 appointments have had happen on our platform. We have a 95% client satisfaction over that entire time frame. So it's really a benefit that employees are going to use and love. We also are measuring outcomes. So through our program, we've been able to see that for any employee that works with a Boon coach, even if it's just once, they're 50% less likely to turn over. And 85% of employees that are going through the Boon program are improving their resilience by at least 1%. So when you start to factor in some of these variables, what we found is that we are saving companies 3x what the return is net of Boon's cost and turnover alone. And we've been able to prove so many other things in terms of job satisfaction, work productivity, work-life balance, that has happened after a few coaching sessions with your employees. Our biggest differentiators outside of us being able to support your employees both personally and professionally, number one, it's our coaches. As I mentioned, we built the network from the ground up. They are truly incredible. Quick access, when an employee takes our welcome survey, and I'll talk through that process in a bit, they're able to meet with their coach within 24 to 72 hours. So there is no wait time. They're seeing someone immediately to get some support, both personally and professionally. We have robust reporting. I'll show a few slides from the reporting deck later, but it's really important for us to be able to show you the impact that we're having across your company directly through our coaching and how that funnels into the other ways that we're continuing to support you. And lastly, I think this is a big one, is we have a flexible pricing structure. So we have a usage-based pricing model where you pay for Boon as your employees are taking advantage of the program. We also have a more of the traditional per employee per month fixed cost based on the number of sessions that you want to sponsor for your employee. So whether you're looking for more of the fixed cost, or you really like the alignment of the usage-based program, we're agnostic. We just want to make sure that we're supporting you. In terms of the customer journey, it's really easy for us to get started. All we need is an employee roster. So first name, last name, email. We usually do a live lunch and learn or coffee and learn where we kick off, share a little bit more about what employees can expect. And then within a week, we're showing you, hey, we've had 15% of your employees sign up for Boon. And then moving forward, we show you in-depth monthly reporting packages that show overall utilization, satisfaction, some of the themes that are being worked on with your coach. And then all the while we have webinars that we're doing, like we have one coming up on Thursday around approaching mental health for Mental Health Awareness Month. That is a free resource to employees. So we really become a right hand of an HR or business operations team that is solving a core need for what employees are looking for, both personally and professionally. In terms of what that dashboard looks like, so you can see here, this is a 700 employee company. We show on average what the sign-up rate is, how many sessions have been completed in aggregate and in a month-over-month basis, how many appointments are employees using on average, what are people coming to Boon for? Is it more personal or professional in nature? And then lastly, what are some of the customer satisfaction scores that we're seeing? So you have a really great idea of exactly how people are experiencing Boon and taking advantage of it moving forward. We also report on themes. So something that we really pride ourselves on is being able to provide insight on how our coaches are supporting you. So as I mentioned, right, so you think about a few of the buckets that I've talked about a few times, whether it's mental well-being, leadership and management, or communication skills, our coaches are going through. They're not saying who or what is being said in their session, but they are able to provide a holistic idea of what the company is going through. So they go in and check a few themes boxes, which will allow you to figure out how are other ways that we can continue to support you. For those that may not be working with a Boon coach, because it's rare for us to get 100% utilization. So there are a lot of themes that we're starting to uncover for the business. And then from there, we curate a custom experience for our customers. So whether it's a company-wide seminar, whether it's more of a group coaching or manager training, even engagements around time management and productivity or navigating difficult conversations, we've really, again, have thought through not just only showing you where we're helping on a one-on-one capacity, but how we can support more holistically for the business as well. And then you'll see some of the testimonials here. Really, the proof is in the pudding. We have created a niche of support for employees, both personally and professionally. And you can see how that translates into some of the feedback that we get. So Laura is a mid-level manager. She works at a consumer retail company. Her areas of focus, at least to start, were leadership and development and coping with stress and anxiety. And you can see she's able to be more productive, better manager to and be a better manager to staff, and also work on some stress and conflict tactics. And so you see how this translates and funnels down into your entire company. We become synonymous with culture. People talk about their Boon coach in their all hands or company-wide meeting. They talk about it in their one-on-ones with their manager. Managers now have a resource to support employees so they can make the one-on-ones more professional in nature. There's a lot of amazing trickle-down effects that happen, not to mention the retention concerns that we're solving that all happen through our program. And just to give you one customer highlight, so we work with a logistics firm in Chicago. They were one of the fastest growing companies in the US. We started working with them in the end of 2020. They grew from 250 to 1,000 employees during that time. And we were able to be the back end that allowed them to scale so quickly, right? We were, as you can imagine, there's a lot of holes that you need to plug when a business is growing that quickly. Managers need additional support because they're out hiring as quickly as possible. But we've been able to prove, we've been working with them for 2.5 years now, and they're continuing to see high utilization, really high satisfaction, and it has become a way that they can help onboard employees, they can recruit them, and they can make sure they're upskilling them quicker so that they're adapting into the new workplace. So that's a high-level overview of Boon. Excited to answer any questions. And Kristina, I'll kick it back over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for that. I think what you and your team are doing at Boon Health is pretty remarkable and so very important. So thanks for all the work that you and your team are doing. Next up, we have Danny Wong from GOAT. So Danny, the floor is yours.
CEO of GOAT Risk Solutions. We're a simple, low-cost risk management software solution aimed at small and medium-sized businesses, helping them better understand and manage the risks they face. So I'm going to start with context. First of all, it's really a risk assessment tool, and that could be applied across any types of risk assessments, whether it be in a specific area like a safety risk assessment or a specific line of insurance. But my personal background and context is enterprise risk management. So I look at it from the broadest meaning of risk, such as what a CEO or a board or a senior leader, CFO, etc., might think of risk in terms of their organization. In terms of context, we could have started at any point through history in terms of business exposure to risk, but of course, COVID has had profound effects on all our businesses and our lives. After COVID, and thank goodness we're out of the frying pan now. It became a big challenge around our supply chains. And of course, the next picture we are all experiencing is around inflation. Notice the headline here that says, "We didn't see that coming." That's a classic one about risk management not seeing coming. And of course, the knock-on effect, we didn't see another banking crisis coming either. Not to say that it's all doom and gloom. ChatGPT is quite exciting. It could be profound, again, in terms of its impact on the world. Lots of opportunity, but potentially existential threat as well. Net, all businesses need to be highly aware of risk. The pace of change is only getting faster. All business leaders, CEOs, owners, and boards, it's top of mind, and if it's not, it ought to be. Where that's one side of the coin, and we know risk is all around us, there's actually a universal challenge around risk management. And it affects all businesses in all sectors, startups all the way to major enterprises, listed, private, any geography, regulated, unregulated, and even regulators are seeing the same challenge, which is that they all need better risk management. Hopefully that resonates with some of your organizations. A lot of organizations, when they think about risk management, it's either ad hoc, they do it when they have to, when somebody asks, then they think about it. It might not even exist for some organizations. If it does exist and there's a process around it, it's slightly too process oriented. It always sits on an Excel risk register, which clearly isn't fit for purpose. But sometimes it also sits on a more complex system, which again fails to engage the people side of things. And that's again, risks, just simply the risk management process around it and the risk registers, it's not taken seriously enough. It's not in decision making. We can certainly do more. And you put those two narratives together between, we're really worried about risk, but actually we're not very good at it. That's the challenge we're facing. And it's hard. It's not a straightforward, easy solution. It's not there's the problem, there's the solution. Why is it hard? It's because it involves people, culture, behaviors. And also it involves a lot of people. It's very distributed. It's not just a CEO thing, major decisions at the top table. It's actually spread around. You've seen the implications of this single one influencer, a single TikTok video that has impacted Bud Light sales across the US by 20% in the month of April. Just an illustration of everyone and how distributed risk management ought to be, and how involved, how all employees need to be thinking about risk in everything they do and every decision they make. We see it, getting it right is the hard part, and that's the problem we need to solve. And three main components around that is to make sure that everyone is marching along the same rhythm, to the same tune, in terms of process consistency. Beyond that, having that culture and the capability, the awareness, and have that genuinely embedded throughout an organization. And lastly, in the key moments of decision making, whether it's at the very top table or whoever marketing person is about to pull the trigger on a specific marketing campaign, have they assessed the risks? Have they thought about it correctly? Getting those three things right, again, we think that because it's so distributed across an organization, technology solution fits well in solving that problem. And specifically, we're talking about how do we get risk management right in organizations. So we're not the first and only persons to have thought about this. In fact, the risk management software vertical is very mature. If you do a quick Google on risk management software, you'll come across Capterra or a Gartner company, which is a Gartner company, and they specialize in comparing risks, sort of software in general. There's a whole risk management category that has 875 software providers in this market. And what you'll see across all of those solutions is that the existing market is very opaque around pricing and product. I know that because I've had an intern on my team literally click through each one of those 875 to give me the data that tells me how many are actually publishing their prices, show us screenshots, and we're talking about less than 2%. Generally, what are they? They're actually GRC solutions, governance, risk, and compliance. They're heavy, complex enterprise solutions, long sales cycles, typically very expensive long-term contracts. So that's not where current modern software is playing at the moment. Cloud enables us to provide software much more lower cost. We've heard the feedback from users of these systems, and time again, we're hearing it, that they're failing to engage, they're putting people off, too complex, it's not affecting behaviors, decisions. So it's not doing what it's meant to do. And that's where we start, that's where GOAT comes in. We feel as though there's a new category of software, risk software, that's required. And that category needs to be simple and easy to use solutions. It needs to be low cost and embracing modern cloud technologies. And it needs to address that people element, the learning and the behaviors. That's exactly what GOAT Risk is about. So the next few slides, these are screenshots from our current website. I encourage you after the call to click through it. There's a lot of information on here. As we say, we're completely transparent in that every screen within our product, we've actually done a screenshot and put it on our website. Our pricing is published as well. And I'll show you that as one of our last slides as well. But what I can tell you is if you take a moment to read the testimonials, and I know it's very small on the screen here, but it's genuinely loved by our clients. And it's great, humbling, genuinely, to hear how it's affecting behaviors and culture around risk in our client organizations. And we hear that time and time again. So what we do know is that clients around the world in every sector, they're buying GOAT because it's easy to use. It works straight out of the box. It's flexible though, so it can match all of the risk assessments that you're currently doing all in one place. And that involves an IT security risk assessment, which is very different from enterprise risk management, or something that is safety related, or in a particular location or a line of insurance, or anything such as an ISO certification, anything like that is driven by risk assessments. You can capture that and hold that in one place, and you'll have the workflows around it. We talked about low cost, and when I talk about low cost, the starting point is $40 a month. So we'll get into a little bit more detail, but that's just to show you where we stand on that. On the learning and behavior side of things, the software solution is great for workshops and brainstorming risks, but actually we design it for companies that might not have in-house risk capability. And some organizations, literally, where do we start in terms of risk management? Well, you start with the risk universe, actually. We've built it right into the system. There's a little drop-down menu on the right-hand side that asks what size or what type of organization are you. So if you're a mid-sized business, the system actually tells you it might be these ones that are the big risks that you face. And you may or may not agree. It might be 90% right. You could untick things and pick something else, but it gives you that holistic framework to think about major strategic issues, tactical communication, delivery, change type of risks, as well as thinking across the myriad of operational risks, the day-to-day that your organization is facing. So where the universe gives you a view of what types of risks you face, once you know what risks you face, you need to think about the controls. And when we design for a non-risk expert, by definition, those are also non-control experts. So what we're hearing in the feedback around this this control framework is excellent. All of our clients keep it, although it's fully flexible. If it doesn't apply to your organization, switch it off or change it. But what we try to do is, with this control framework, is to organize how you control your risks, to drive risk owners of a particular risk to think through the policies that are in place related to that risk, the systems and processes that are there to control that risk, and recognizing that it's a people organization, we all are, that you need training and communication. And then sometimes you rely upon your suppliers, you transfer the risk to third parties, you sometimes buy insurance, and then you always need governance and reporting at one risk at a time. So the system drives you to think through those categories and to think through, well, what's in place and how effective are they? And by doing that, actually, the ideas around actions, they start popping into your mind. So the system doesn't give you the answers, what actions you need to take, but it guides your thinking. And that's great. We know risk registers, they have actions oftentimes, sometimes, but rarely do they have owners, due dates, status updates. And having a system just drives that accountability, it drives that discipline, clarity, separating risks with controls and action owners so that you have more people feeding into one particular risk. And then, of course, you have the automated reminders to ensure that those actions are being delivered and you can report against them, or that's the beginning of the conversations. One of the things I wanted to point out as well, just on this screen here, where we zoomed in a little bit more, all of the major fields where you can put content in, there's this little dashboard, this toolbar as well, where you can put hyperlinks. So for example, if you have policies that are internal policies or training that is connected to an internal training program, you can hyperlink out straight into those solutions, those controls. But also in terms of actions, when they're done, you might have some evidence, some photos, or some actual documents that you need to attach to illustrate that. So it's a great repository for that sort of thing to demonstrate that the risk is in fact managed and closed off. And you do the same with comments, the incidents, managing that as a true and genuine, it just brings the risk management process to life. In terms of decision making, well, we all know that you can't make a decision without data. And oftentimes when you look at a risk register, it's quite data light. well, we've got a platform that tries to bring data into the conversation, almost shifting it from a anecdotal conversation, scoring red, amber, greens, high, medium, lows type of conversation, to something a little bit more data-driven, performance-driven. I believe in an old saying, what gets measured gets managed. So imagine having metrics around your key risks, then you can see how it actually is going, as well as, instead of just tracking the status of actions, you could actually see what's the impact of actions on those metrics. So having those conversations suddenly brings that risk management dialogue into a much more data-driven, fact-based conversation. And of course, we talked about capabilities. All of the screens I've shown you kind of drives behaviors, holds the hands of your user base, but also on a part of the system, we packed it out with risk management tips. And also we've got a separate section around terms and definitions. It's just making sure everyone's on the same page, understands language the same way, dispel any jargon. And these risk management tips, just getting people to think about risk a certain way, encourage them to make a difference and drive actions and to track data. So that's what we're doing. Again, trying to change the behavior. What we're trying to also do is make sure that we save your time in terms of reporting. So one-click reporting, pretty good looking reports. Most of our customers are all very satisfied about the types of reports you get out of them. But you can imagine, take the focus away from risk management as a reporting exercise and focus it on the actions, the data, and the decision making around the. I mentioned $40 a month is the starting point. It goes up in stages. We've got different price points, and you get much closer to it when you get into the website. There's a monthly plan as well as the annual, which is just a times 10, so a 2-month discount, $400 a year for the starter. So the main drivers when you're thinking about what price plan you ought to be using is how many risk profiles you need to do. So if it's just the one, maybe it's a project, maybe it's the #1 top risks to the company, then you just need the risk profile. If you need a few more, maybe you want to do a risk assessment in one area or multiple locations, or just want to have a little cascade of risks, then our standard package at $120 a month comes with 5 risk profiles. And then once you go beyond 5, it's unlimited. So Enterprise or Enterprise Pro, depending on how many users, so that's the other dimension, is around user count, how many seats you need. And then our Pro version has a few extra features. Again, on the website, you can click on each one and learn more. But some of the more larger organizations that are maybe a little bit more mature along their risk management, they want some of these features are included in the Pro version. So just to summarize, risk management, we know how important it is. We know that it's a process that is summarized on our Excel spreadsheets. It's quite thin when you really think about it. So in terms of keeping us awake at night, genuinely, that risk management is terrifying for some CEOs and business leaders. So there's a need to have a step change in improvement. Improvement is very hard to do because of the people nature, the distributed nature of it. And existing technology isn't quite designed for that. In fact, it's designed more by risk managers for risk managers. But GOAT has trying to redefine a new category that says, no, it's all about designing for non-risk experts, hold their hands, recognize the cynicism and some of the baggage from sort of the previous experiences, and get them along the lines of better decision making and ultimately better risk management. So as you say, all the information's on the website. There is on the website, the call to action is to book a demo in the US time zones. You're likely to reach me, but if there's anything as well, if there's genuine interest, if you see risk registers, think about GOAT. If you think about risk management, think about GOAT. If you're not thinking about risk management, think about GOAT. That's my email address on the screen. You can contact me directly, and I'd be happy to show you closer, get you right into the system. Okay, back to you, Kristina.
Thank you, Danny, for taking us through that presentation. The way your team is able to help visualize key strategies and business risks for our clients is really impressive. So last up, we will hear from Chad Hollingsworth with Insight Risk. Chad, you are up.
Okay, how's everyone doing? I'm going to just have to start presenting. It's not letting me share my screen. Well, actually, wait here. I think I can do it here. You may just have to go without the slides.
Were you able to accept the message that popped up, Chad, that said for presenting?
Yeah, but it's saying I have to change something in my system preferences. So hold on, I'm just trying to do that right now. All right.
You still with us, Chad?
Yeah, it just booted me up, but let me in. You could try one more time.
Phil, can you try Chad one more time?
You can see and hear me though?
Yep, we can see you and hear you fine.
All right, I guess I'm not able to share my screen, so I will go without it. I'm Chad Hollingsworth. I'm the co-founder of Insight Risk. My background, I've been in construction technology and insurtech the last 10 plus years as a founder. I founded a company called Triax Technologies, which is the leading IoT wearable safety and efficiency platform for commercial construction as well as industrial markets, used by close to 200,000 workers every day in North America on hundreds of projects. It was actually while building that company that I started to partner with large insurance carriers to try to find ways to offset the cost of our solution to the insureds. And had some levels of success in doing that, but I'm sure as some on the call know, getting carriers to pay for things or to integrate new things into their business model is not the fastest process. So it was actually through those experiences which led to the founding of Insight Risk. So Insight Risk is an MGA where we are building our organization from the ground up to allow us to finance, implement, and monitor technologies that can improve loss ratios in the property and casualty market. We feel strongly that in the long run, our model will prove out to lower the cost of insurance, reduce claims, and lead to more predictable and more profitable books of business for underwriters. We chose to do this for a couple of reasons, one being the experience of dealing with how the market innovates today, but we also are very intimately familiar with a lot of technologies that are maturing in the market, and those companies really struggle with navigating the insurance world. So we see ourselves as having a foot in both, where we have a deep understanding of IoT and data technologies that are improving risk, as well as the insurance underwriting process. So where we're at as a company is we have intentionally decided to launch our first program in the builder's risk market. We launched it last year. We have 2 programs right now that are in market. And essentially in each of those, what we're doing, which is unique, is we're tackling the biggest loss driver for builder's risk, which is water damage. About half of all losses in vertical construction come from water damage. And there are a number of IoT sensors that have been around that are in market that have been proven in our data sets, as well as independent data sets, to reduce up to 94% of claims paid out when implemented correctly. But not many people still do it, largely because the insurance carrier response has been to try to force it on the insured. Maybe you give them a nominal premium credit, but the economics don't really add up when you look at the cost of the technology versus what the premium is. A lot of times it's 50% of the total premium. So what we did is we essentially flipped that model on its head, and we own, install, and monitor the sites, and then we remove the sensors and move them to the next one at no cost to the insured. In addition to providing the technology for free, we're able to offer lower pricing and lower deductibles. So not only is it a better experience for the insured, but it's also a better insurance product for the broker. And so we have 2 products right now where we're proving that model out. One is an E&S product where our lead sponsor is Munich Re. We're also a Lloyd's cover holder, and we have a syndicate of a number of syndicates out of London that we underwrite behalf of. And we also have an admitted product where we're putting out about $200 million to up to $200 million in limits on projects, as well as a lot of renovation work. So both those products, we've really been kind of in earnest marketing them since January. We've quoted already in our lifetime over $2 billion in construction value, close to $10 million in premium, and we have been we bind new accounts every week now. So we're actually starting to see a lot of excitement, as we are able to get our message out in the market and to educate and sign up new distribution partners, which we hope, Graham could be one in the not too distant future. Kind of sharing where we're going, and then I can talk a little bit about why we're excited about being a part of BTV is, we have a number of other areas within the property and casualty space that we have other IoT solutions or software solutions that we think can make meaningful impacts in the loss ratio. We are already pretty close to putting together a wood frame builder's risk program, which is incredibly hard and challenging market today for people trying to place business. And we've come up with some very innovative ways to address the cost of loss control technologies that are required today in that space. And then we're also looking at a property program around our existing IoT around water damage, as well as some new IoT which can alert and prevent electrical fires. So we're really at the kind of bleeding edge of what new technologies are doing to reduce loss, and we're set up to be nimble and fast to put programs together. We have a lot of buy-in from our capacity partners, and our real focus today is getting strong distribution partners. What attracted us to BTV was the opportunity to meet with a lot of like-minded thinkers in the insurance brokerage and carrier space in one place in a short amount of time to really get to intimately know people. And I'll say just the response out of that has been tremendous for us as an early stage MGA. And we think we'll get at least 5 appointments out of the meeting. We have a number already appointed going into it. And so, really finding people that believe in our approach to try something different, that want to move fast, and see the benefit to all stakeholders like we do. At the end of the day, we believe that our product will be a better product for the insureds. And if it's a better product for them, it should be easier for brokers to put their clients in it. And for the people carrying the risk, they'll have a better chance of having a more predictable, profitable book of business. So that's how we look at the insurance landscape. our team is made up a lot of seasoned insurance executives, people who've been successful startup founders in insurance, as well as great underwriting track record. So we have a tremendous foundation built. I'd say we're, in terms of being on the launching pad, we just started to lift off. And so, we're happy to meet with anyone to discuss in more detail. I would love to answer any questions at a future date and can pass any information along to anyone who'd like to learn more about what we're doing at Insight Risk. And that's all I got, unless there's any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for walking us through the capabilities of Insight Risk. It seems like your team's off to a great start through the first quarter, and being able to monitor for some of those key perils will definitely be beneficial for our clients that are in that builder's risk space. As of now, it seems like there are no questions in the chat box. So if you hang up and you realize that you had a burning question that you forgot to ask, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone that was on the panel, and we can get you set up and we can connect you with the person that you want to ask the question to. So for now, I will say thank you to everyone for taking the time to join us and to hear more about BrokerTech Ventures and the 3 new members for 2023. Thank you, Boon Health, Go Risk, Insight Risk, for discussing what your companies can offer our clients. Huge thank you to John Jackovin for co-hosting this and for all the work that he does in facilitating that BTV Accelerator program, and for allowing Graham to keep up to date on the latest insurtech that could help our clients and our agency in general. So thanks everyone, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.